Shane Pope, welcome to the Dare to Dream podcast.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
It is so exciting that you are the first guest to ever fly down specifically for the episode. So you flew down yesterday, you stayed at my place last night. What does it feel like to be the first?
It's different. It's weird. It's my first podcast appearance, so I don't know anything different. So for me, it's a special occasion, a special time.
I love it. So I think the first question I want to ask you is, what is Remi and who is it for?
So Remi is the app that I have created and I'm launching, and I'm so excited that it's on the App Store and ready for people to use. It is a tool that I've created really to just help people process whatever it is that they're dealing with. The best way that I've come to describe it is kind of a middle ground between meditation and journaling. It's very inward focused. It's a space where you get to be the center of your attention, but it's a little more structured than meditation, or it's a lot more structured than meditation. Because one thing I hear from people a lot with meditation is that, what am I supposed to do? Just sit and, deal with my thoughts and just like breathe? Like, that's boring. I don't want to do that. So this is a more structured process that helps people really look back and reflect on whatever it is they're dealing with. And then similar to journaling, where you're getting things out, you're taking whatever in your head and you're getting it out. This is doing that in a guided and structured way. So you get asked questions actively, and the questions build on what you say based on the conversation that you want to have and what you want to talk about, in a way that journaling often just kind of feels like a blank paper and you don't know where to start. So that's what Remi is. It's an app that is designed to give people a place to process their inner world.
Why the name Remi?
So Remi is my dog. Remi is, my wife and I call her the center of the universe. She has life figured out, is kind of how I think about it. An example of that is there was a time where she was living both with my wife and I, and then also with my wife's family. And this was kind of the moment where I was like, Remi just knows what she's doing, because we would have Remi at our house and I'd be like, Remi, you want to go for a ride? And she would just get so excited and just be so happy. And then on the ride, loving life. In the car, head out the window, loving it. Get to her family's house, so excited to see them. Runs up to the door, so excited. Then it's, you want to go for a ride to go back home. So excited. Like, she just has this like zest and this energy and this excitement. But Remi's also the kind of dog where she's laying on the ground in the living room. I'll go lay on the ground, just like lay next to her and pet her for a bit. She will stand up, take 5 feet, take 5 steps, walk away, and lay down, like just a little bit away. So she like always wants to keep you just like a little at arm's reach. And so Remi is an AI powered tool. And one thing that I've seen with something like ChatGPT or some of these other models is that they kind of have golden retriever energy, where they are just like, every idea you have is the best idea you've ever had. It's the best idea anyone's ever had in the history of the world. And Remi, the tool, is not that. It's not designed to reinforce and hype up. It's designed to help you and help you get to the root of things. And so that, like, keeping Remi at an arm's distance, that ability that she has to like know that she loves me, but it's not like oh my gosh, I'm so excited every time. Like, there's just like a little bit of a distance. So I think that's what these tools really should have, is that kind of like barrier of distance. And then I landed on her for the name because I wanted to have a gender neutral name that people could say, oh, I was talking to Remi about this. And there are fictional and real life men, women that have the name Remi. So I felt like it just kind of had that. It captured everything I was looking for when I was looking to name the tool.
And I remember when you told me about it the first time, you said that you wanted it to be obvious that it's not human and that it's not trying to be human. And that feels like a distinction between some of the ChatGPT interactions I've had in the past.
Correct. Yeah, I feel like there's this race in the AI world and with technology to replicate humanity. Let's replicate the human mind. Let's replicate the human voice. Let's make something feel like people are talking to a human. And I personally, that's not what I want out of a technology. That's not what I want out of a tool. When I think of sci-fi and the best robot companions, they own the fact that they're a robot. And I think that there's a lot of value and a lot of just the experience, I think, is different when you have the mindset and you know that what you're talking to is a robot. It is a tool. It is a technology. It's not a human. There's no judgment. And so with what I'm creating, I absolutely am leaning into the fact that it is not a human. I don't want to replace humans in any way. I'm using technology to help people because technology is a tool, and that's what tools are supposed to do. It's supposed to help people.
And I know we're going to come to that whole idea of keeping humans at the center instead of
Mm-hmm.
trying to replace them. We're going to come to that later in the episode.
Mm-hmm.
But where did this idea come from, and what really gave you the courage to get started? Because so many people have these big ideas. They have this thing they want to go after, but it takes some serious courage, and you really have to dare to dream to go after that.
Yeah, I feel like in a lot of ways, I feel like I've been working towards creating this tool my whole life. Like it feels like my life's purpose has been, and it sounds big to say that, but I genuinely feel that it's been the culmination of so much. And so a lot of this started in high school when my senior year of high school, I lost my dad to cancer and broke my ankle and ended my basketball career, which was like my identity. Like I was a basketball player. That was who I was. And so within the same year, both of like the key foundational parts of who I was were taken away from me at essentially the same time. And it rocked me. Like it completely shattered any illusions I had of how the world works, how things work. I moved off to college. I lived life for the following years, almost just like in a daze, because I was dealing with so much that I couldn't even process it. And then eventually I got therapy and I got help for what I was dealing with. And the way I describe it is after getting that treatment and that experience, I felt like I had a weighted vest that came off of my shoulders. And I felt like a different person. I had mental bandwidth to think about things in ways that were just not accessible to me when I was dealing and holding in so much trauma. And so that sent me on just kind of like a lifelong journey of understanding the brain and trauma and emotions and how we process them. And then that culminated in golf. I fell in love with the game of golf. I got addicted, as so many people do. And when I do anything, I want to be the best at it. Like that is my mindset. Like if I'm going to dedicate time to doing something, it's like, why have any other mindset than like, I want to be better than anyone else doing this. And so I started studying the greatest athletes, the best golfers, the best professionals. And time after time, whether it was Serena Williams, Tom Brady, Tiger Woods, mindset, mental focus, mental presence. So then I started learning about Buddhism and Eastern cultures and just all these different components of what allow you to be present. And I started to realize how much the energy that I had been using to store away what I had been dealing with from my high school time was interfering in my ability to be present. And so I just really started to recognize the value of unpacking and letting go and figuring out how to let go of all these things that we keep in our heads to allow you to perform whatever it is, whether it's golf, whether it's art, whether it's your job. You need to have a clear mind to be able to perform at the highest level.
And that has been the biggest unlock for me in getting to spend the last 24 hours with you and talking about Remi and who it's for, what it's for. Because before I imagined this as similar or adjacent to meditation and journaling. It's this nice to have, do it every once in a while, maybe do it when you have something flaring up and you're like, oh man, I really need to talk to Remi about this. But now through our conversations, I'm understanding that it's really to unpack and unknot that stored energy you have inside of you so you can show up with that mental focus, with that new energy. So maybe tell us a little bit about that piece of how it's a tool to be used to essentially clean the bad stuff out on the inside so you can show up as your best self.
Yeah, and I think everyone's going to interact with this tool differently based on where they are. And my kind of hunch and what I think is that you have to start with what's top of mind. You can't unpack your deepest, darkest stuff if you're stressed about your workday or if you're stressed about anything that's happening in your normal day-to-day life. That's gonna be the first thing that I think people start with is like, I'm stressed about this deadline that's coming up, or this thing happened last week, or I'm dealing with this challenge with this person in my life right now. You have to clear whatever's most relevant and prevalent first. But then once you do that and you have that baseline, then you can really start to reflect back and think, what are some things in my life that I probably didn't fully process in the moment? Because the way that I've come to think about how we interact in the world is that we're all just interacting with our environment. We're meeting people. We're dealing with circumstances. We're getting stuck in traffic. We're getting a bad performance review. We're getting a great performance review. We're getting broken up with. We're breaking up with something. Like, life is just this stream of events that are happening. And I think that when we are faced with an event, there's an emotional imprint that leaves on us. And in an ideal world, you fully process whatever that is in the moment, in real time. You allow yourself to feel whatever it is that you need to feel. The problem is that I don't think most of us have the mental bandwidth to truly fully process what it is that we're dealing with. And I think the quantity of inputs that we're experiencing is just dramatically outweighing the outputs. And so I think what's happening is that if you think of your brain storing information as this kind of closed system, the amount of information that's coming in needs a place to go if you really want to be able to process in real time. And that's what this tool is designed to give you, is a place where you can go to process and get out so much because we're faced with so much.
And tell us a little bit about what it looks like to actually use Remi from, like you described, you can say, I just have something on my mind I want to talk about, or you can go much deeper and say, hey, I want to unpack something from my past. So tell us a little bit about the options of getting into it and then the whole 7-question framework.
Yeah, so there's a kind of a catch-all, which is the first option, which is I just want to talk something through. That could be anything. Like, that could be, I just played the best round of golf in my life and I want to bask in it and I want to dive deeper. Or I just got this thing happened at work and I want to talk it through. Then there's, I want to unpack something from my past. And then there's a couple other options that just are prompts that you would click if it feels applicable to you. When you click that prompt, you then get asked a question. What's on your mind? What is it that you want to talk through? You can then either text or type or give voice of what you want to talk about. You can speak at your answer. And then it's going to acknowledge what you're saying, and then it's going to ask you another question. And so the idea is that while most AI is you put in an input and then you get a big output, this is you put in an input, it asks you another question to get another input. It asks you another question to get another input. You go through the 7 questions, and you then get presented at the end with an overview, kind of recap of the situation, designed to not be like this revelation that's going to blow your mind, but just like recap back to you, like, this is what we just talked about. You're going to get some guidance, gentle guidance around, like, maybe you can think about this way, or think about maybe looking at this problem from this angle. It's not advice. It's not like you should do this, go do this tomorrow. Because I think people know inside what works for them. And I don't think that AI should be telling people what to do. I think it can be used as kind of a guidance and a nudge. And then you get 3 affirmations that are very, they're customized based on what you said, and they're designed to help you reinforce whatever it is that's going to have the biggest impact based on the situation that you just talked through.
So many questions come up for me, but one is, how is this different than therapy? Because you've emphasized that this is not therapy. So tell us a little bit about that, and then I'll ask some of the other more technical questions next.
Yeah, so absolutely not therapy. I love therapy. It changed my life. I think therapists are angels on this planet. Like, the last thing I ever want to do is create anything that's going to take the work from what therapists provide to this world, because the value is just incomprehensible. And so therapy is diagnosis based. You are diagnosed with this specific thing. You are getting professional medical guidance on an issue. This is not that. This is closer to a journaling prompt. This is closer to mindfulness and meditation. I call it reflection. It's reflective AI. It's a tool that's designed to help you unpack what's inside. I think some people might feel that it has a therapeutic effect to talk through things, but in no way is this replacing therapy. And I actually see it as an amazing tool that therapists could use in the process of working with someone, because a lot of times I think the best therapy sessions happen when people know what they want to talk about. And if their mind is swirling with all these thoughts, having a tool like Remi to kind of cut through the noise, I think, can be really, really valuable in a therapeutic setting. So absolutely not therapy, not a realm that I want this to be considered in.
And after using it myself, it's already something that I'm seeing would be super helpful for my coaching clients because, like you said, it could help them get clear on what they want to bring into our sessions. And it could also be in between sessions, just a helpful tool to help them continuously work at processing some things, to talk through some things, and kind of keep that momentum in between sessions.
Yes, exactly. And I think that for things that people need therapy for, you need a professional, like you need a human. Like there's something that comes with a human to human connection. There's a reason I flew down for this podcast and I didn't want to do it virtually. Not that virtual can't replicate a lot, but there's something about human to human connection that is extremely, extremely valuable in our lives and in our world. And so I think that tools are getting smarter. They're going to continue to get better at things that other humans can do. But we can't replace humanity. You can't replace that human to human connection. I couldn't fully unpack what I needed to unpack with a tool. I needed a human sitting on the other side who had been through doing that with many people before. Like there's a professionalism and an expertise and a training and an ability to handle crisis. This is not a crisis tool. For people that are in crisis, I encourage them, use whatever resources you have at your disposal. I don't intend this to be something that's solving extreme crisis situations because those need to be handled with care by a human.
So to take a little bit of a left turn and talk about the technical side for a moment, I'm sure this is a question that people ask you all the time, but how do you actually build an app? And what was step number one to get started on this dream? Because again, so many people, we have these great ideas and we don't know what to do first.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think that's one that I get often when people are curious because there's like, I've got ideas, but I don't even know where to start. And so for me, it was figuring out like what tools are available to me that I can try to start building this in any capacity on my own. And we're in such a unique time in society and humanity where for me to get where I am today 10 years ago would have taken tens of millions of dollars and a massive team. And I've been able to do it with world-class contractors and a lot of my own efforts based on the technologies that are available to us today. So I started by building a custom GPT that I was trying to program myself to accomplish what I kind of had in mind. And I very quickly hit the limits of what that could be. So I recognized that I needed to speak with someone about the AI model first, because that's the power. That's what I had the idea for, was an AI model that asks people X number of questions and then delivers an output. And so I went on Upwork, amazing resource. Shout out to Upwork. If anyone's trying to build something, there's amazing, amazing people on there. And I typed in AI engineer and read the bios of a bunch of different people. And there was one person who felt like the absolute dream fit. And so I only reached out to her and I sent her a message and I booked time with her. I paid for an hour to consult and I just explained what I was building. And she is brilliant. Her name is Rachel Dralos. I want to pronounce that correctly. I think that's how you pronounce it, Dralos. But she received her MD and her PhD from Duke University at the same time.
Whoa.
Her PhD in computer science focused on AI at a time when it was not the buzzword that it is today. So she's been deep into it. And so her and I had a fascinating conversation. And we got in the weeds, and there were times where I was like, I need you to maybe explain that like one level less so I can understand it. And I learned so much in a 1 hour conversation. But we identified what she needed to do to build it. And she said she took it on. She said, this is a project that I'm interested in taking on. And then she told me, she's like, but you're going to need an app developer and an app designer, because essentially the model is the brain that powers it, but you can't interact with it. It's code in a database. And so I needed to find a designer to help me actually create what it looks like. So that was then the next step, was finding a designer, because I didn't need an app developer yet until I had an app that was designed and ready to be built. So that was the next step, was finding a designer, collaborating with the designer, collaborating with super creative, brilliant people in my life who were able to help me bring the vision to life. And then once the vision and the design was done, the model was done, Then I needed app developers to then connect and build it together. And so my advice to anyone is just, what is this phrase? It's like the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Like,
Yep.
I didn't know what step 4 was. I didn't know what step 6 was. I didn't even know what I could have known that those steps were. So just take the first step. Talk to one person. That person might have the answer of where you need to go next. And if they don't, they might be able to point you in the direction. So just take that first step, figure out what is it that I'm trying to build, what's the most I can do on my own, and who can I get involved that might be able to help me figure out where to go next.
I love that so much. The nuggets that I'm hearing in that are, you only need to know what the first step is,
Yep.
and to take that first step, because you can't see step 4 or 5 or 6, but maybe you can see step 1 and 1.5. And then once you get to 1.5, you can see 2, and you keep slowly building and progressing.
Yep.
And then 2, you don't have to do it all alone.
Yes.
Who can help me with this instead of how can I do this is a really powerful question to ask yourself, no matter what you're trying to start.
Yeah. Because there's always, you might have the most unique idea in the world, but like someone's built something similar. Someone's done something in the vicinity of it. And so learned experience, like, you cannot imagine what someone who's done this their whole life knows, that you are trying to do this for the first time. It's like, oh yeah, you need to do this, this, and this. And so leaning on experts, leaning on places like Upwork where you can go and book and pay time. Like, if people offer a free consultation, like, those are great, but I find, like, pay someone for their time to show that you value their expertise, because there's value. Money is a tool. When you share that, you're putting value on that time. And so lean on experts. Find people who have done this before, because what I've learned, I've learned a lot of things in my life, but one thing I've really learned is that most people want to help. They love helping. They love sharing what they've learned. And so asking questions, reaching out, showing vulnerability that you don't know what to do next, that will attract people who are willing and excited to help.
And speaking of learning, I feel like I have learned more in the last 24 hours of hanging out with you than the past 6 months or maybe 6 years of my life. I mean, you have thought through so many things. You have these theories that make perfect sense. You're great at explaining them. You bring in helpful metaphors. And I'm really excited to transition the conversation to some of that.
Yeah.
What are some of these theories? And maybe we use kind of the Lego block as a jumping off point.
Yeah.
Share some of the unbelievable, clear, compelling theories that you've thought of over the past few years.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. That's really kind. I think the Lego one is one of my favorites, because I think everyone's built a Lego set or knows someone who's built a Lego set. But the idea here is, like, I think our lives are a lot like building a Lego set, where you have a lot of pieces in front of you. And in a Lego set, you get bagged pieces, you get an instruction manual, and you get a box that has the final image on the box. And so I went through a Lego phase, and it's one of those things that I know when I'm doing it, I feel like I'm my best self, because it's really good for my brain, because it's really challenging for my brain. So I need to do it more. But I went through a phase where I was like building Lego sets, and it feels overwhelming when you're looking at the bags and you're looking at the image on the box. You're like, where do I go? How am I going to get there? But just like building an app, just do the next piece. Just do the page that you're on. Just put the piece where you know to put it. But what I realized with life was that a lot of times we don't have an instruction manual. We don't have bags. We just have a bunch of pieces in front of us. And I think a lot of people don't even really have the Lego box image of what they're trying to build. And so you're sitting there with all these pieces, and you're trying to build something of a life that you want to build. And society will give you a instruction manual. Your friends will tell you what they're building. But if you don't have a very clear image of the Lego picture that you're trying to build, it's really hard to build something. And so for golf, what I started to do was I created as vivid of an image as possible of me as the best golfer I could be, of me shooting 65 in a tournament. Like, that was the Lego picture that I was building towards. And once you have that very clear picture, pieces start to show up that you didn't even know you had, or you might get a piece from a friend through a conversation, or you might get a setback that teaches you resilience, which is a piece that you needed but wasn't in front of you yet. And so I think that for people that don't know where they're going, it's figure out what, and that's where working with you and what you're building and what you're creating, I think is going to change so many lives, because you're going to help people really figure out, like, what is the Lego picture that I'm even trying to build? But for some people, they have it, but it's not clear. It's fuzzy. And so visualization, imagination, the clearer that picture can be, the more you can see what pieces you have, what pieces you don't need, and where they go. And so, yeah, the Lego box is a fun one.
And that's what blew my mind and really turned on that light bulb for me when you shared it with me, is that that's exactly what I'm doing with my coaching.
Mm-hmm.
It's helping people get crystal clear on what is that image on the front of the Lego box.
Yep.
So that you know what you're working toward. Because as you said, most of the times it's either pixelated, undefined, or people have the box turned the other way. They can't even see the picture.
Yep.
They just have this mound of pieces in front of them, and they might not even have all the right pieces. But the thing that really clicked for me was figuring out the vision, who you want to become.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really important step. But then you need to work backwards and say,
absolutely,
if I want to be that person, what would that person do on a daily basis? And let me start doing those things now to close the gap, to almost pull that vision back towards you.
Yeah, absolutely. That, like, it has to be sustainable. It has to be a way. You have to be, if you want to be that person, you need to know what that person's life even could maybe even look like, and start taking one step at a time. One thing, change one habit, change, like, brick by brick, literally. Like, that's how you build a giant. You could build the biggest Lego set that you could ever imagine, the Eiffel Tower, the Millennium Falcon, whatever these multi-thousand piece Lego sets. You build them the exact same way. It's one brick at a time. And I think with habits and mindset, you don't become your idealized dream self overnight. It takes time, and it takes effort, and it takes guidance and coaching and help to figure out what that looks like, and where your gaps are. What are your skills? What are you already great at? How can you make that greatness even greater? Where are your weaknesses? How do you make those weaknesses into strengths? And it's one step at a time. It's always one step at a time.
And the last thing I'll say on this is that there's so much work out there that helps people visualize and create a vision. And there's these guided visualizations, which might help you get clear on the imagined picture, but then you still don't have an instruction manual.
Yeah.
And you're like, man, I'm over here. I want to get over there. How do I actually do that? And that's what you've helped me see my work is so good at doing, is not only do we give you an instruction manual, but we give you your instruction manual. We co-create it together. So it's like, oh yeah, I just need to do these 5 very specific things each day. I know what it means to go do them. It's not complicated or convoluted. And over time, I will become that person.
And that reminds me of one thing that I think about often, which is the difference between simple and easy. Like, there are things in life that are very simple, but they're not easy to do. Like, I could tell you, I want you to sit and stare at that wall for 10 hours straight. Like, that's a very simple task, but it's not easy. It's very, very, very difficult. It's almost be torture to do that. And I think that so many things in our life, we conflate simple with easy. We think that because something is simple, it should be easy. But, like, working out every day, it's a very simple task. Like, just do it. Like, it's not, you don't need to solve some super complex equation to do it, but you need to do it. Like, you need to do it every day. And so I think that a lot of people get really frustrated when they're not doing things that they think are simple, but it's because they're not easy, and they need to give themselves permission to understand that this is not an easy thing that I'm doing. It's not a bad thing if I need an app to help me track doing this consistently, or an accountability partner to help me. Because, yeah, like, people tell me all the time, like, oh my gosh, I'd be so much better at golf if I practiced more. Well, it's like, yeah, you would be. But that's the challenge. Like, that is the problem, is actually doing the thing. And so finding out where other people, where tools, where technologies, where resources can help you do the simple thing and make it easy. Because once it's a habit, then it becomes easy, because it just becomes second nature. You then start to feel wrong or bad when you don't do it. If you work out every day for a month, when you then start to take a couple of days off, you feel the, like, innate want to do it. And then it's not a challenge. It's not something you have to do. It's like, oh, I'm glad I get to do this. And our brains are really good at reshaping once we build those habits.
And that's where the identity work comes in, and the identity shift of if you become someone who, if you work out every day, you become someone who works out. And when you stop working out, it's now what began as something you had to consciously put effort into going to the gym. Now you're like,
Yep.
oh man, I'm someone who works out and I'm not working out. I want to go do that. So
Yes.
oh my gosh, we're going to have future episodes that are just breaking down more of your theories because I've had so much fun talking about them. But a couple questions I want to ask back to Remi and this AI adventure you're on.
Mm-hmm.
What has been an unexpected inspiration on your journey to build this?
Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift and Taylor Swift's music. I don't think you had that one on the bingo card of what it was going to be. One of my favorite phrases that I've learned on this journey is feel it to heal it. You have to feel, part of what I was describing earlier around needing to process the information, you have to allow yourself to feel whatever that emotion is that you're being confronted with. And societally and in so many ways, we put up barriers that protect us from feeling really uncomfortable, challenging things. And so for myself, I have typically, if you think of feeling as a spectrum, you've got sociopaths on one end who are unable to feel anything. And then you have what I call super feelers, who are people who feel everything very immensely. I was definitely not, I'm not a sociopath, but I was on the closer end of not feeling emotions super deeply. And so I went through my life in a way where I was faced with a lot of things that I was not feeling with the amount that I needed to feel. And the loss of my dad being an extreme example of that. But relationships and just ways that I handled myself, like I was just able to operate in a way that I wasn't feeling fully what I probably needed to be feeling. And on this journey of healing and opening up emotionally, my wife is a big Taylor Swift fan. I know your girlfriend also is. We had a good Taylor Swift conversation last night, talked about our favorite albums. But I think Taylor Swift would fall closer on like the super feeler end of the spectrum. But what she has is like this supernatural, magical ability to take that emotion and package it in art and deliver it in a way that other people who might not have that ability to articulate it can listen to it and feel what she might have felt in a point in her life or fictionalize the feeling of. And if someone has been in that situation in their own personal life, it allows them to feel what they need to feel to let it go. So at scale, I think she is helping people heal in just a massive way. And so for myself, by listening to her music with a more open imagination, there are songs that like apply to my life where I'm like, I need to feel this because I need to unpack and deal with something that I maybe pushed away. But then she has fictional songs where I'm like, I'm sad for the protagonist of this song. And that's where empathy and the ability to imagine yourself in someone else's shoes has opened me up emotionally. And that opened emotional capacity has helped me see things and connect dots that by living in my logical, math-based, science-based world, I've opened up in ways that have helped me come up with things that I just never would have been able to do if I didn't have that ability to open up emotionally more.
That is so cool. That is not who I was expecting you were going to say. But you're hitting on something that's so important, which is great art, great music can unlock things emotionally. Especially I'm also someone who has been closer to the feeling less side.
Mm-hmm.
It allows you to tap into emotions that you didn't realize were there.
Mm-hmm.
You are able to process through things. I love the feel it to heal it. And I think that's what good art does, good music. You listen to a great podcast and you hear someone articulate an idea that's been in your head and they articulate it with language that you didn't previously have. And you're like, yes, that's it. Like that unlocks something in you. So I just love that you are unapologetically owning that Taylor Swift has been an inspiration on this journey.
Absolutely. Like one song, I won't go too deep, but like one song really comes to mind. It's called Champagne Problems. Are you familiar with the song?
I'm not, but my girlfriend definitely is.
All right. So the concept of the song is a girl gets proposed to and says no. And like screws up everything. Like there was a party, there was a whole thing. And the song starts with the line, you booked the night train for a reason so you could sit there in this hurt. Bustling crowds or silent sleepers, you're not sure which is worse. And if you just look at that one line, you can put yourself on a train upset because you just ended your relationship where the other person thought you were far enough along to get engaged and you said no. Like, you're dealing with a lot, and you're looking and you see a group of friends who are maybe going to a concert or a sporting event, and they're bustling and they're having so much fun, and you're like, ugh, like, screw those people. Like, that sucks. But then you look over and you see someone who's just chilling, taking a nap, and you're like, I would love to be that person too, but like, I can't sleep. I'm so, like, in one line, you can put yourself in a completely different world. I'm not a girl who got proposed to and said no, but like, I can get a glimpse of what that feels like, and getting that glimpse opens up my emotional capacity, and her music is just full of stuff like that.
So cool. And I appreciate you sharing that. I want you to tell us more about the human revolution.
Yeah. The human revolution so it's an idea at this stage. It's something that I'm like workshopping and working with. I'm excited to hear how people feel about it, what people think about it. But I was in back-to-back days, I had a conversation with a PR professional and a venture capitalist. And in conversation describing what I'm doing, what I'm building, they both said back to me that it sounds like you're building a movement more than just a company. And I didn't really know what that meant. I was thinking about it, and I was just like, what does that mean? So I started to think, and using AI tools to explore what that maybe could look like. And I landed on this concept of what I now call the human revolution. And the idea is that we go through revolutions as a society and as a planet and as a country. And we had the Industrial Revolution, which brought machines really into the forefront. And humans used to be the strength. They used to be the physical manual labor. And then these machines came along that were so much more efficient and so much more powerful that humans then lost a little bit of the value that they brought, and they then were started working the machines on behalf of themselves or their jobs or whatever to reach a goal. Then we had the information revolution, which took information and made it so easy to be stored that the human memory was then less valuable. You used to have to memorize people's phone numbers to call them. You used to have to memorize facts and things to remember them, but now you can just store them all on your phone. You can access the entire internet in your pocket. You can access literally the entire informational ecosystem that society has built for thousands of years. You can find it in seconds. And so the human memory now has lost some of its value, some of its uniqueness. And now I think we're in the middle of the AI revolution. And so that has taken computation, creation of art, creation of images, processing of information, and can do a lot of thinking for people. You can go into ChatGPT and say, I have a 5-page essay on the Civil War due tomorrow. Write me a 5-page essay on the Civil War, and it'll do it. And like, that led me to the question of what's next? Like, what is next? And are we sure we want this to keep happening? Because we are creating these tools. Species create tools to further the goals that they want to accomplish. But if at any point you recognize that the tools you're creating are not furthering the goal, are not helping, shouldn't you stop? Like, shouldn't you recalibrate and think differently? And so that's what the human revolution is all about. Is I think we're ready to stand up to these technology companies and these technologies that are infringing on so much of what makes us human, and kind of say, like, are we sure this is the path we want to go down? And I think about, like, you read AI CEO says that their tool is going to eliminate 50% of jobs in the next X years. And I'm like, if you really believe that, like, shouldn't you shut your company down? Like, if you really believe that you're going to have that level of impact on society in that way, why are you doing it? Because that to me doesn't seem like a goal that I want to accomplish. And I think about, like, an animated movie. If something used to take 100 animators now can be done with 10 using AI, do I want that? Like, do we want that? Do we want 90 less people working on these amazing creative outlets just because we could be more efficient and get more optimized? And so I know this is something we've talked about, but this chase for optimization, I don't think it's it. And so I think that humans have to stand up and kind of say, I don't think this is the path. I think we need to kind of calibrate how we're thinking about the way that we interact with these things.
I definitely want to talk about this optimization piece, and then I want to talk what you shared with me yesterday, which was using these tools to enrich our connection with things. But real quickly on the optimization front, I think you're absolutely nailing it. I think optimization for optimization's sake is not the answer. And in my line of work and my past self used self-optimization as a tool, or rather it felt like a bridge to get me from where I was, which was sad, miserable, feeling unfulfilled. I thought that I could self-optimize my way into happiness and fulfillment. And, I just need to get my Whoop,
if I was just better, I would be better. If I was just more efficient, I could get my goals done.
I just need a better morning routine, or I just need to ice bath and sauna more often. And it's not the answer. And you start to inadvertently, you think that this is going to help, and you start to just shave off these parts of your life that, I can no longer watch sports because it's a waste of time. I can't watch TV or movies. That's a waste of time too. And you basically just isolate and trap yourself in this world where you have to be productive. You have to be able to measure a score and optimize and improve. And you lose, I'm just kind of putting this together in real time, you lose the connective human element of having tea with someone or doing something that on the surface has no productivity score, but it's that thing that you needed.
I've got the perfect metaphor.
Of course you do. Let's go.
Are you ready? And ironically, it's about the movie Cars. So it's Cars, but it describes this very, very human experience. So there's a scene in the movie Cars where Lightning McQueen is up on a mountain with Miss Sally, and they're overlooking Radiator Springs. And Lightning McQueen looks at her and he's like, what happened? Like, Radiator Springs is awesome. These people are so amazing. What happened? Like, why are things the way that they are? And Miss Sally's like, they built a freeway that made us 10 minutes more efficient on the path to get from point A to point B. And now no one drives through Radiator Springs anymore because you can just take the highway and you can get there 10 minutes faster. And so by searching for optimization, by providing people a way to get there quicker and get there faster and get there more efficiently, you just obliterated an entire economy of an entire small town. And that's like, I think I'm going to assume, and that's a very real thing that I'm sure happened at scale. But I think it's happening in our brains in a lot of ways. I think it's happening in our communities where if my wife had a medical emergency and I needed to get across the country as fast as possible, I would be so glad that there's a highway that I could go on efficiently to get from point A to point B and not wind through Radiator Springs in a time when I needed urgency. So I think there is a time and a place for optimization, for urgency. But how do we find ways to also encourage people who aren't in a hurry to take the Radiator Springs route, take the scenic route? That's something I think about a lot. Like, I used to be the guy who I'd be going to the movie theater 2 cities away, and I'd pull up Waze and I'd plug it in and like how to get there the fastest. And I'm like, I know how to get there. Like, why am I trying to use a GPS to get somewhere faster when I'm in no hurry and I know how to get there? And so I've stopped, like, whenever I cannot use a GPS, I don't use it because it's like, oh no, what if I take a wrong turn and get a little bit lost? When was the last time you got lost? If you're listening to this, like, when was the last time you were literally lost and didn't, like, that's something that we've completely eliminated, the ability to figure out where you are, how to figure out where you are, use the road signs to like get where you want to get to. Challenge yourself. Like, I want to go somewhere that I've never been and I'm not even going to get a map. I'm not even going to get my GPS. I've got no time limit. Like, take the scenic route because that's where learning happens. That's where growth happens. And AI, I think, is just the ultimate highway. It's the ultimate, like, it'll get you where you want to get to really fast, but what's the cost of that? What are you giving up?
And what's the point of it all? I was listening to Alan Watts yesterday. Beautiful episode of him talking that I'll put in the show notes. It's not an episode. It's like a talk
one
he's
of his
given.
Talks, yeah.
Probably him reading one of his essays. But basically it was like, we are treating life like it's a journey to get to a destination when in reality life is a dance.
Yep.
You go watch a professional dancer and they aren't trying to get anywhere. It's not like, oh, the purpose of this dance is that I'm going to move my body from this side of the stage to get to that side of the stage. It's like, no, the purpose is the dance. And then he talked about it through the musical lens. You're not trying to get through the music faster.
No.
It's not like the best composer writes a single chord and then it's over. Like, we need the intro and the escalation and the crescendo. I don't know music terms. I'm just pulling these out of my ass. And you need the finale. You need all of that. And the purpose of going and seeing live music isn't to get anywhere or get anything.
You want to be upset when it's done. You want to enjoy it so much that you're upset when it's done. But it's because you enjoy the actual thing. Not to put words in your mouth, but
no, it's perfect. I'm loving this idea of AI can be effective as the highway. It can get you there, but yeah, you're going to miss out on the experience of actually living, of actually being with the thing. Which, tell us about how using Remi or maybe future iterations of it can actually enrich our experience with movies, with music, with golf, whichever of those examples you want to share.
Yeah, I want to go back to what you were just saying because it ties perfectly into Remi and what I'm creating. Because one thing that I've really learned by using the tool that I've created, and I literally created this tool because it was a tool that I wanted to use. I wanted to, and I think that's what starting companies I think should be, is like you see a problem so clearly that you want it solved, that you decide like, I'm the person to solve this. And so that's what I think Remi is. And so what I've learned from really using Remi is that it's not the output at the end. It's not the overview or the guidance or the affirmations that's really the value. It's the going through the 7 questions. It's methodically getting probed and going deeper into one specific thing in your life. And it's a practice. It's like going to the gym. The value is not racing through it and getting the answer at the end, because there's no answers in life in so many ways. It's more just unpacking and figuring out that you have everything you need. One of my favorite quotes that this yoga instructor on Peloton ends every class with is, I have everything I could ever possibly want and need right here inside of me. We know the answers to so many of our challenges. We know what we need to do better, but we often just need that guidance to go inward and go deeper. And so when people use my app, I want them to remember, you're not doing it to get something at the end that's going to solve all your problems, but the act of going through it is what is going to free you up a little bit, make you a little bit lighter, enjoy your day a little bit more, allow you to be a little bit more present with your friends, with your family. And so it's the act of doing it. It's doing it consistently. It's doing it day after day. It's putting in the time and recognizing that I'm not doing this to get some output that's going to solve all my problems. I'm doing it because the act of doing it is helping me. And I think that with AI and tools, I want to figure out, how do we allow people to connect deeper with art? One thing I'll do when I drive home from a movie is I'll say, I just saw this movie, and I do it visually. I'm not texting and driving. I realize I shouldn't, got to be very careful. But I'll say, or when I get home from the movie, I'll say, I just saw this movie. Ask me one question at a time to help me understand what I just saw and how I interpreted it. And if ChatGPT knows the movie, it'll ask me a question like, what did you think of this plot point? It makes me like movies more. And so I'm just trying to think of ways and tools and things that we can create that will connect people deeper with art. Because like you said earlier, I think art to me is the manifestation of love. It's the manifestation of creation. Art is what transcends understanding. Like you said, you can listen to a song or see a piece of artwork or hear something or see something or feel something that you don't process it. It's not a computational process. It's oh my gosh, I feel different. And so I think that with technology, so much of technology is about optimization. It's about making people more efficient, making them faster, better employees, better at this, better at that. But I want to flip that on its head. And how do we find ways to make technology support artists, support the consumption of art, support the creation of art without becoming a replacement of the creation of art? Because like I said, I don't want a Disney movie that could be made by 5 people and a bunch of AI if we could have 200 people making the movie that's going to change people's lives. Because the more people you have, the more collaboration. AI is a tool. You provide inputs, it gives you outputs, but it's reliant on those inputs. And the way you get better inputs is by interacting with other humans and having conversations and learning and growing so that your inputs can get better. There's a place for these tools, but it's not replacing people. It's not. It can't be.
And that's what drew me into your idea and the human revolution and all of this when I first met you, because on the surface, you are starting an AI company. And yet then you're also telling me that you have issues with how these big tech companies are operating. And at first I was like, well, isn't that a little hypocritical? And then as you get to know and you get to hear more about it, it makes sense. So maybe just speak to that a little bit, because I'm sure that is a question you also get.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. It's like I'm saying tech companies are the problem, and then I'm starting a tech company. So it's like, hey, AI apps are so terrible. AI, or not terrible, but like AI apps cause all these problems, but go use my AI app. And the way that I think about this now is like, if you think that fast food is really unhealthy, you think the food system is broken, the best way to impact that is to start a fast food company that's healthy. Sometimes you have to go into the industries that you feel need disruption and disrupt them yourself, because shunning it and disconnecting from it and removing myself fully, if I decided that I was going to be an AI resistor and never use it, well, then I'm going to be standing by and allowing a path to continue to go down. And if I feel that I could play any type of role in reshaping that, then I think there's a lot more value in entering that arena and facing it head on, as opposed to just throwing my hands up and being like, oh, that's bad, I don't want to interact with it. And so I think that oftentimes the way that you can have the biggest impact in a space like that is to enter it yourself and just do it differently.
And you looked me in the eyes yesterday and you said, I want to build the biggest AI company in the world. And I believed you. And I want to ask, where does that confidence come from?
I have a theory on confidence. I think confidence is what I call a shadow value, which is that confidence is not something you have, it's a lack of something. And what I think the lack of is self-doubt. A lot of people that would describe themselves as not confident, they have a very loud voice in their head that tells them that they can't do things, that they're dumb, that they're stupid, that they shouldn't even try that because they'll never be able to do it. I've been very fortunate that I've lived a life and had external circumstances, for better or worse, that voice is either not there or is very, very quiet. Like, I have just always had this belief in myself that when I set out to do something, I'm going to do it. I'm going to make it happen. And I think that I was born to the best parents you could ever imagine. Like, my mom and dad loved each other more than anything I've ever seen or experienced. I feel it with my wife and I feel it with my daughter. But just being able to see it and grow up with it shaped me. But my parents also instilled in me the mindset. My dad was the king of this. For the 10-year anniversary of my dad's passing, I reached out to a lot of people in my life and asked them to kind of share a favorite story. And one of my cousins shared a story when he got back from a quarterback camp. And my dad asked him, like, what's your goal for being a quarterback? And he's like, I want to play in college. And my dad was like, why is your goal not to be the best quarterback who's ever lived? And so I was like, oh, that's where I get it from. Like, my dad instilled that into me from a very young age. So when I do something, my thought is, how do I do this better than anyone's ever done it? How do I do it in a way that could help more people than anyone's ever helped? Like, I go to the extremes. I want to do the best that I can do. I'm here. I think losing my dad at a young age and seeing him lose his life at a young age really gave me a like seize the day mindset of like, if you're going to do something, do it. And so that's how I approach life. That's how I approach business. Is if I'm going to do something, I want to be the best. I want to create the best that's ever been created.
And so seeing confidence is not necessarily an abundance of one thing, but rather a lack of self-doubt that's getting in the way, that's making you second guess yourself.
Yeah, because I think this is a conversation my dad and I had a lot, was like, what's the difference between confidence and arrogance? Because I think that it's a very thin line. Like, oftentimes people who are very confident can be perceived as arrogant. And what I've really landed on with that is that when you're around someone who's arrogant, they make you feel worse about yourself. It's almost performative. It's almost pretending to be confident to hide insecurity in a way that makes other people feel worse. That's the people that like will brag about their accomplishments in front of someone who didn't do as well on that thing, or is boasting in a way that's trying to make themselves feel better, and then by effect makes other people around them feel worse. Whereas I think confidence is innate. It's a self-belief, and it inspires other people. If you're around someone who's really confident, you should feel better. It should make you want to be more confident. It should make you, by proxy, a little bit more confident just by being around it. And so that's always the line that I think people can think about when they're thinking about confidence in that way, is like, if I'm performing confidence, that's probably arrogance, and it's probably rooted in some type of trauma or limiting belief or lack that you feel you may have, that you feel you need to overcompensate with a performed confidence. I personally don't feel the need to perform confidence because my natural default state tends to be confident. So I just try to operate in a way that is respectful of others and express my confidence in a way not to diminish it, but never in a way that's like trying to make anyone else feel bad if they don't share that attribute that I feel that I have, or the lack of the one that I don't have.
Right. How much do you think of that inner confidence has come from you doing the work, though? Because you've mentioned you've done a lot of work, whether it's therapy or sitting with yourself and theorizing how things work.
Yeah. I think the way that I think of trauma and when you are faced with something that you cannot process, our brain stores that in ways that we can't even comprehend. Ways that we, like, by definition can't even comprehend because our brain is keeping it from us. And the way that I think these energy blockages and this trauma can manifest in physical ailments, tight muscles, gut health issues, all types of things. It can manifest physically, but I think it manifests mentally by pulling you out of the present. So if you have this trauma in your brain that is stored away, that can manifest in future worry, anxiety, concern about the future. That's not a very confident state if you're worried about the future, because that is stemmed from a place of uncertainty and just by definition, like, not confident. Or you can ruminate about the past. You can be stuck in a past event. And I know if I'm in a place where I'm either ruminating about the future or the past, I do not feel as confident. I feel that self-doubt because those blockages, that energy, that trauma is that voice that's like, remember that one thing that happened really bad? Like, what if that happens again? Or are you sure that this is a good idea? Like, that is the manifestation of that energy blockages, those trauma showing up. And so the more inner work you do to process and clear out that trauma through therapy or using a tool like Remi to unpack and let it go and release it, you're then going to free yourself up to live more present in the moment. And truly confident people are very present in the moment. Athletes, I think athletes in sports are the training ground for this. They're like the arena that you can really see this. The best quarterbacks in the world, when they drop back in the pocket, they're present, they're confident. If they're worried about, oh, I don't want to throw an interception, like, that takes them out of the moment. That hurts confidence. So the more work you can do, the more you can unpack, the more you can release, the more present in the moment you'll be able to be. And the more present in the moment you'll be able to be, the more confidently that you can stand in whatever arena it is for you that you want to have that confidence in. Whether it's on a date, whether it's on a sales call, whatever it is, the more present and relaxed you can be, the more confident you appear, the more confident you will be.
And people can feel that real confidence, real presence versus the manufactured confidence, which is arrogance or I'm feeling insecure, so I'm going to puff myself up and try and be someone I'm not.
Yeah, and I think it's subconscious in a lot of ways. And I think that my career is in sales. I can feel when I'm in a really good headspace and I'm really relaxed, the energy of the call is calmer. And that allows the person on the other side to open up and be more comfortable. And they might not be consciously thinking like, wow, I'm sitting across from a really confident salesperson, and so I'm going to relax and open up a little more. It's deeper than that. It's subconscious, and it can even be felt virtually. It can especially be felt in person, but it can even be transcended through a virtual conversation. And so, yeah, I think that the more confident that you can be, the more relaxed you can be, that is going to permeate into the people around you on a subconscious level.
And what you're describing there is nervous system regulation. Your nervous system affects the person sitting across from you.
Absolutely.
Especially if you're in person. Think about the last time you saw someone speak on stage. If they're super nervous, you feel uncomfortable, both because you probably want them to succeed, but also because their nervousness is making you feel nervous inside, and you're like, I just want to get through this. And so that's super cool, and I haven't thought about it through that lens.
And nervous system regulation is one of the core things that I think people should be focused on in their life, because we are our nervous system. Our brain, there's a saying, I heard it somewhere, which is like, our body is our subconscious mind. Our brain is who we are. Our nervous system creates our experience in our day-to-day. And what happens is that what I feel happens is that when people are going through their life in a heightened state, they're in fight or flight. Their nervous system is not regulated. So any small thing that goes wrong becomes this massive problem, and they're not able to regulate their system because they're in that heightened state. They're already dysregulated. So when you're already dysregulated and you're faced with something that you see as an uncomfortable or adverse situation, you're not going to have the bandwidth to process it. And that's where I think something like a cold plunging every day is not going to solve every problem you've ever had. But if you can get into a cold plunge and you can get really quick at lowering that panic, because you can cold plunge every day all you want, but when you get in the first time, your nervous system goes into shock.
Yeah.
And so the sooner that you can breathe through that, the better you get at learning how to regulate your nervous system. It's going to have so many advantages for you. And I think that Remi, the tool, in a lot of ways is a nervous system regulation tool, because you're giving the topic, and then it's helping you by going deeper, 7 questions on one topic to help you get through it. You don't have to rush through it. There's no rush. Take your time. Think about your answer. There are times where it asks me a question and I'm like, I've never really thought about this that way. I need to sit with that for a second. Or sometimes you have to say, I don't know how to answer that. But you're giving your nervous system the space and time to really focus on one thing long enough to figure out what you need to feel and what you need to process in order to really regulate whatever that topic is, whatever it is that you're dealing with, whatever it is that you're still carrying.
What else, if anything, do we need to cover? Because we're coming into the tail end of the podcast, and I know that we could literally talk for 6 or 7 more hours like we did yesterday.
Yeah.
Is there anything we missed that you want to highlight before we ask where people can learn more about you?
I think we did an exercise recently where you asked kind of what your mission is. What's your mission? What is my mission? What am I looking to bring? What am I looking to create? And for me, it all comes down to the present moment. I want to create tools. I want to help people figure out how they can be more present in that moment, because life is not easy. I'm not saying that if you regulate your nervous system or if you unpack all your trauma, that all of a sudden life is going to get easier. It might even get harder. You might even get bigger challenges that you're ready for now, because there is no linearity to this process. There's no linearity to any of these journeys. You can unlock the thing that you think is going to solve all your problems, and the next day, the biggest challenge you've ever faced could come in. And so it's not a promise. It's not any type of asking or hoping that I'm going to solve anything or make anything easier, but it's, can we all have just a little more presence in the moment? Can we be present for 5 more minutes with our child? Can we be focused on the person we're sitting across from at the bar before checking our phone? Because checking your phone is often a nervous system regulation hack where you feel like you need a dopamine release. So you check your phone, you check TikTok, you check your email because you want some kind of rush, because you need that. How do you just quiet that for just a second to be more present? And presence through challenges, presence through difficult situations, it's going to hurt more. It's going to make the sadness deeper. But that feeling it to healing it, that being present, that processing it, you need to feel that uncomfortable situation. You need to live in that discomfort, not escape from it. And so that would be my challenge to anyone listening, is just, how can you be just a little bit more present today? How can you be just a little bit more focused on the one task that you're doing, on the person sitting across from you? Multitasking is a myth. If you're in a meeting and you're trying to check your email, everyone knows. Everyone can see it. Be present where you are. 5 toes, 10 toes on the ground. be present where you are, and it'll be a more relaxing, peaceful experience. It's not going to be easy. It's not always going to be fun, but it will pay off in the long run in terms of just that regulation and that peace and that appreciation for every day.
Beautiful. That feels like a perfect place to land the plane. Where can people go to learn more about you, learn more about Remi and Reflect Technologies, and learn more about the Human Revolution?
Yeah, so the website is meetremi.com, meet-remi.com, and then we'll put the social channels in the show notes. But yeah, just follow along and download the app. Download the app, walk through it, commit to trying it for 3 days in a row, and expect that it might not feel good while you're doing it. It's the opposite. I think of like TikTok and Instagram and these social medias. Those are like cotton candy. I'm trying to create like a vegetable or like a very healthy experience. And oftentimes that doesn't feel great in the moment. It might be uncomfortable. You might get asked a question that you're like, oh, I don't typically ever want to answer that to anyone, but it's a robot. Say the thing that you've never said to anyone. Unpack the thing that you've never felt like you could open up to someone about, because those are the things that are really going to give you the biggest release. But the release might not come right away. The release might come a week later when you remember a nugget from the guidance or you remember the affirmation. So it's a practice, commit to it, and really start to see that you might just feel a little bit lighter 4 hours later, rather than like the instant gratification that comes with a lot of what happens on our phones.
You might feel like you're slowly shedding that weight vest that you
Yep.
talked about that you didn't even know you were carrying around. And for people downloading it from the App Store, it's Remi.
Yep. Remi by Reflect is the name on the App Store, but if you type in Remi, you should be able to find it.
Perfect. Well, dude, I appreciate the hell out of you. No joke, the last 24 hours. I said this at the beginning. I feel like I've learned more things in the past 24 hours. And even on this podcast, I'm like, oh, here's this clunky metaphor. And you're like, oh, here's this story from Cars that's perfectly applicable. Or here's this Lego analogy. And it seems like you've thought through everything and you have at least a working theory for everything, which I appreciate. But also, we were talking about yesterday, you have these theories and you have strong convictions about them. But if any new information comes in or someone challenges you, you welcome it. Yeah. You're not dogmatic in your approach. So
yeah, I want to talk through anyone who disagrees with me. I want to talk about it. Anyone who agrees with me, I would love to explore deeper, because in no way do I think I have it all figured out. That's one thing. Like, I learn more. The more I learn, the more I learn. The more I figure out, the more I realize I don't have figured out. And so I just feel like I'm on a lifelong journey to just learn and translate and deconstruct and understand any and all things. I'm always looking to grow, always looking to learn. So yeah, always looking to have conversations and learn as much as I can.
Thanks for bringing me into the conversation. It's been super fun, and I can't wait to see all of the beautiful conversations we have in the future.
Yeah, really looking forward to it.
And thank you everyone for tuning in with us today. As always, we love you guys, and we'll see you next time.